Kia ora, good morning, and yeah, thanks for coming along and supporting. It's great just to see more than one person here, so I'm pleased about that. My name is Duane Mutu. I am a founder of a company called Let's Play Live, and also a founding board member of the New Zealand Esports Federation. And so, obviously most people in this room are familiar with games, so sometimes when I do these keynotes it's always about, gaming, people watch other people play video games, but I think the change for what I wanted to give people here is more about the mainstream, why we probably care. If we're making games, why should we care about the esports component? Why is it that sports and brands and celebrities are going there? And really what I want you to take away from it is it's positive. When I first got into it, I started there, had the core that kind of didn't like what I was up to. I had the mainstream saying that I was a clown, in the media too, and they just didn't get it, right? But what I've seen in the mainstream, and we'll get to that, is really the relevance of the size, the reach, the ecosystem, the value to that. So, of course, you're always going to have the core consumers. We want to widen that net. So, as we kick off, we'll get into a video which kind of summarises where we're at in New Zealand culture from a media point of view about what we've been up to and what they think of esports.
Kiwi company Let's Play Live is stamping their mark on what's considered the fastest growing entertainment sector in the known universe.
I am going to introduce you to the underground world of esports gaming.
Let's see what it looks like.
It's a great pathway forward for best players.
Oh.
Kiwi company Let's Play Live is stamping their mark on what's considered the fastest growing entertainment sector in the known universe.
I am going to introduce you to the underground world of esports gaming.
Let's see what it looks like.
It's a great pathway forward for best players.
A friend of the show, Duane Mutu.
I mean, this place is like state of the art. We're in the heart of the Sky Tower at the moment. Incredible amount of resources gone into it.
3 million viewer hours watching this, so this is absolutely a sport. I mean, they absolutely recognise that the top esport players, they see them as sports stars.
Yes, it's absolutely a viable career path nowadays if you're at the elite level.
And our top Kiwi gamers are set to make big money. So, to tell us just how big, we're joined by Duane Mutu from the New Zealand Esports Federation. Morning.
Yeah, good morning.
So, as you've seen, a very divided table here on breakfast this morning. I'm on your side.
Dota 2, which is a particular type of game.
Good game, it's going to be called Atletico.
Mbappe, one of the best players in the world, dancing pretty. Crosses excellent, looks for a beautiful header. Unbelievable stuff.
My name is Duane, and a warm welcome wherever you may be watching this alongside me. I think the man needs no introduction. A superstar from Penrith himself.
And our those 5 will each walk away with $50,000 each just for making it there.
That's amazing.
Esports, or more commonly known as e-gaming, is now an official sport in New Zealand, recognised officially. Perfect timing, brilliant timing. What a master.
Well, it is perfect timing, but like you said, it's been 4 years' journey to get to this point.
Duane Mutu from New Zealand Esports Federation joins us now. Good morning, Duane.
One of the things is we did see the World Health Organization come out and obviously put it as a disorder, but interestingly through COVID-19, the World Health Organization also came back out just recently and said actually this is very good for social interaction.
Virus fears and isolation rules have wreaked havoc in the sporting world, as we are hearing. But as live events lock down, one group of sporting heroes are doing their bit to fill the void. Esports, once mocked for not being a real sport, are now breaking viewing records.
This year it's meant to be about 500 million is the audience, and it's set to grow over 3 years to about 650 million.
Esports aren't just filling in time until the real thing returns. They're here to stay and are very big business.
The likes of Kevin Durant and our own Scott McLaughlin's endorsements are evidence esports is booming through the COVID-19 outbreak.
Gaming is a great medium to kind of break down the barriers in the sense of, hey, I can sit at home today and compete on the exact same racing course as Scotty McLaughlin.
I mean, some colourful comments. I'm certainly not the Steve Hansen of esports. I mean, that's just ridiculous, by the way. But you can sort of see the media has kind of picked it up, it's embraced it. You can see the Kiwi celebrities. I mean, a lot of people, sure, we see the big numbers, but what's it like in New Zealand? That's a good, quick snapshot of really they're very interested in it. They find it different, they find it kind of unique. Us in the room of gamers, we're happy about that, but this touches the point. So for us, we deal with the biggest brands in the country. We deal with the biggest sporting codes. We deal with the biggest game publishers right through to the biggest platforms. So it very much is mainstream when we look at it. And again, it comes back to the why. So my bit is just to hopefully to educate on the why. Some of you will know esports innately, some of you may not. But the why is really why do people care that much if you're not into gaming? The reality is it's young, it's global, it's digital, it's diverse, it's inclusive, right? We always know about community in games. That is what sport is not. I'm a purist as well. That is not what that is right now. If you think about sport, you need to physically be there to participate. Look at the Olympics. It's about viewership. It's not that digital. It's digital by output, but it's not digital in the fact that all of us in this room tonight can go to our different locations and still be here. We can play games, together. That's what gaming is really about. And so the mainstream is hunting that. That is what they're trying to do. That is why they're so curious about it. And I love that quote because obviously it sounds better from ESPN than it does from someone like me telling you the story, right? The growth is real. So we know there's 3 billion gamers coming up across the world, but certainly esports. And so our perception of esports primarily is that even some in this room, if you're making casual games or you're kind of into that, you think of that hardcore gamer, right? The stadium filled with the best players. We're talking about League of Legends at the back, sure. But that is still a minute, small part. The casual esports consumer, that's my son, that's my cousins, that's some of you in the room who don't really think of themselves as kind of hardcore esports participants or watchers. That's growing all the time too. And that's important if you're making games because it's still a community. And as we saw there with Kevin Durant, one of the biggest basketball players on the planet, he just wants to jam with his friend or a fan playing video games. That's still esports in the way that we would view it. So again, that's probably what you want to take away from there. And of course, it's not a fad like some of the media kind of thought it was originally. It's growing and it's growing big time. Asia Pacific, well, we are huge and it's going to continue to grow. Yes, it's growing hugely in the Asian markets, but New Zealand and Australia are very advanced in the esports landscape. Why? Because we have fantastic internet. That's the one big thing. One of the big pieces around how you get good at esports is the fact we need good internet. And we're a great Western culture. We have 98% of the population in New Zealand has access to PCs, to mobile, unlike other countries. So we push the void forward. And as you saw in that clip, we are also recognised. We're the only Western democracy in the world that recognises now esports as an official sport in this country. Hence why they kind of want to chat about it in the media. Very, very cool, because those are the pillars that will make us good on an international scale and allow more Kiwis for the next generation to grow and see esports as a viable career pathway. As we go through this, by the way, it's Friday, like I said, so feel free to ask questions, put your hand up, happy to take them as we go through. So, prize money. What we know is, as well, the youth love this. The youth see, when you look at the surveys I look at, when 7 out of 10 of them will always say, both male and female, they want to be an influencer, or a YouTuber, as they say, or they want to be an esports pro. That's really what it is. That changed, you look back and it was once a doctor or a lawyer, or, maybe a sports star. That's not really what we're seeing. And it is a viable career pathway because this is what they're seeing, as you saw touched on in that clip with our New Zealanders in Fortnite. $50,000 they each won. So we sent 5 up to the World Cup. Top 100 in the world. Phenomenal. They made some money, yes, but if you think about 450 million Fortnite players in the world, and we have 150,000 people playing rugby in this country, you can see how statistically hard that is. But of course, the money's on offer. We also have Gabe, who's sitting up there in Auckland at the moment in a small island boat. And he has, TI, which is $40 million this year. So absolutely, this is a career viable, but it's 1%. So again, when we look at the esports ecosystem, and again, some of the purists, it's not a sport, what are you on about? And again, I actually say, look, it has the spine of sport, right? If you remove the terminology esports and called it e-gaming from the outset, we wouldn't be having these conversations, but really there's a lot of pillars that look the same in esports. We have fans, diehard fans, different types of games that you would in sport. The stars are big with huge money, millionaire athletes I would see around the world, broadcasters now pushing into the mainstream, which we'll touch on. Prizes that we touched on before, and we have the hosts, the traditional hosts that in traditional sport. We see those on Twitch, and they're actually larger and far bigger. So that's the kind of holistic view. But as we push into the why mainstream, and again, going back to my original point, a lot of people used to say to me, the purist would all go, I don't get what you're up to. And I came from a background, I spent 12 years on the publisher side, just so you understand, with the biggest brands in the world. So I worked for Ubisoft, THQ, Warner, Disney, EA. So I knew how and I was there when the Nintendo GameCube launched. We were selling 100,000 discs of Call of Duty in this country when it would come out and around the world. So I understood it for what it was, but what people don't realize is that it's only ever 10%. So I'd say, I use Call of Duty as an example. 10% are hardcore gamers, and so of that number, let's say 100,000, 10,000 want to buy the steel case, get the T-shirt, the trinket that goes with it. Where's the other 90,000 coming from? They are the mainstream. And so when you're looking at those games, hence why mobile and the reach is so good, is because it was always about the mainstream, because it's always the bigger triangle. People love it, and now we're seeing it go out. But the big thing for traditional, and it's brutal for any of those in the room that are from, hopefully none of you are, no, I don't recognize anyone from Sky or TVNZ or the All Blacks, is that yes, there's a problem, millennial, Gen Z exodus from the way they consume content. So the way I look at it is that, and as a parent, people get freaked out that Kiwi kids are not participating in sport. That's not true. Kiwi kids are still playing sport. They love it, they still engage in it. The issue they have is they're not consuming the entertainment or content of sport, right? You're not, I mean, look, sure, the Olympics are on, but if we're honest with ourselves, right, the cooler stuff is probably the surfing, you know, unless it's a Kiwi, I get that, but if you think about it, you really want to watch the surfing, the skating, that just seems rad versus some of the other ones. They're dying, right? And so they're all up against it. So when we think about the pop culturalization of sport, you know, we see the Fortnite dancers, and these kids in the playgrounds have no idea. They've never played Fortnite, and they see Neymar and that dancing, and they're the biggest sports stars, and they're bringing that into the world. So we're seeing these big stars bringing in gaming as a reference point, right? And it goes into fashion. So the brutalness of this, you know, we want to try to stay positive, but the reality is, if you look at just a quick slide here, and there's plenty, is the fact that it's in freefall. Sport and sports viewership is 40 plus. Hence why we see Sky, why everyone is trying to grab at esports, why they're trying to jump on in here, because it's just capitulating. And if they do not capture the youth, the Gen Z, the millennial, they do not have a hope, because the reason is they're just not going to come back. There's no magic bullet to that if you're 10 or 15 and you've never ever engaged in sport in that way, apart from playing. You've never watched an NBA game, an All Black game, potentially the Olympics. You're not going to be interested in 5 years from now, are you? So that's, and these stats back that up. And equally, when you think about traditional sports viewership in decline, it's a shake-up. Look how many people through the pandemic, yeah, sport's okay, video games up 21%. So this is, you know, the jarring truth that people don't want to talk about a lot, but it's true, and these are some of the numbers. And I see that anecdotally with, you know, you saw some of the brands. You know, on 7 Mate, we did 1.3 million Aussies tune in. We have started with one here and there every couple of months, then we got to kind of 3 months of our content on there, and now we have 2 nights a week of esports content on Channel 7, which is a free to view platform in Australia. In New Zealand, Neon now takes our content, and they take CSGO, which is one of the most hardcore kind of games you're going to get. Interestingly, we just had our stats from them, it is 50-50 in viewership, male and female. And so again, that talks to the kind of growth of you know, female consumption. It talks to the fact that this is becoming more mainstream, and there are just generally people here that want to watch that content over other content. So when we look at sporting clubs, again, the why do they want to be there, we're kind of touching on the fact that they need to be there, like they have to be there. And so we think about value and the brand recognition right here, and you saw the, you know, the Neymar celebrating. We have the 50 most valuable sporting clubs in the world and what they're worth, and these are household names. Most people in this room know almost all of those brands. And already we have half of them growing in the next couple of years to all of them are going to have an esports and gaming strategy. And that is the reason why. They have to. If they don't, their sports are going to free fall and basically fall off the lift. When you think about NRL, they got $1 billion. The All Blacks got 500 million in broadcast rights. That isn't going to be the case in 5 years. Like, really? They're going to pay that much money, 100 million, to watch it when you've got hundreds of thousands? Now, they know that. The NBA know that, NFL know that, the All Blacks know that. They need to be embracing the youth, and there's good ways and bad ways, which we won't go into in this presentation, but you can kind of see what they're trying to do. And I say that's a good thing. And a lot of people say, oh, they're just taking the mickey, they just want to try to cash in on the esports and gaming. But the reality is, if you have someone like Neymar, or you have someone like LeBron James interacting with that, my argument would be that's fantastic, right? If they're playing video games, it's good for all of us. We want to see that. They're still big stars in their own right. So to me, it shouldn't be a kind of a us and them mentality. It should just be embraced. And we'll see some of that as we move forward. How am I going for time? Pretty good, I think, right? Even domestically, this is the Breakers Dojo. So Matt Walsh, the Breakers, they too wanted to enter here in New Zealand. They're now converted themselves to call themselves Black Sheep, but when they first launched, they jumped into the space as well for exactly the same reasons. They want to make sure that they can engage the youth, and you might see them pop up at the games. If you ever go to a Breakers game, you always see that there's a digital aspect to what they're doing right now. And yes, I have been in the media talking about the fact that I believe that esports will be an Olympic sport. And I think it will be as close as 2024. Yes.
Right. That's really cool and awesome point. One of my strongest questions watching the Olympics this time, at what point will the Olympics need esports a lot more than esports will need the Olympics?
Well, I've openly stated esports does not need the Olympics. And and to be fair, nor does football and golf and probably tennis, right? Because they've already got their own majors and we know that. So it's not about that, right, as we all know, and it goes to my point I'm making here, and we've got to be honest and kind of we look at it. It's dollars and cents in viewership. That's what this is about for the Olympics. I mean, they don't put surfing and skateboarding in unless they wanted to try to attract the youth generation, right? And that's what they're doing. Now, that's why I was so passionate about it and said in the media, going back 5 years, 6 years, that it is going to be, because the trajectory is that it has to be because of the reach. It's the largest, most viewed, used content on the planet is video game content. And so, to your point, Olympics are trying hard. They have to do this. And so it's just political in the sense of publishers, right? Like, they don't need you, so it's like, why do I want to put my game there? So they're struggling to get the games. And what we've seen is the Asian Games did it as a demonstrative sport last time. It's medalled this time round. So that's factual. There's going to be medals for esports at the Asian Games. We worked on this one. They came out quite late, but you can see it's an official event called the Olympic Virtual Series. A lot of people missed it because it was only 3 months just prior gone. They did 3 crossover, I'm going to call them hybrid digital sports. They did sailing, rowing, and cycling. They jump on there. And then they did baseball, and they did motorsport, GT. So you could qualify top 16 in the world on GT sport. We had 1 spot, and then going to go now. This is a precursor to me to see the Asian Games medal, and that's why I'm saying 2024 we will see Kiwis at the representing our country, and I can't see it stopping for that reason, because they just need it so badly. And again, if you think about the Olympics, which is kind of relevant, empty stadiums, that may go on for a period. Esports not a problem. You can do that digitally, and there's all the wraparound effect. We think about AR, VR, the experience you could bring if you had gaming, all the way through all the sports, including the core. So, yes, we will be an Olympic sport. Maybe have some, gold medal winners in esports. The stereotypes are wrong, and so this is the kind of final touch point on this. Is really, and I know a lot of people in the room know this, but the reality is the average age of a gamer is 34 in New Zealand, and globally it is the same, around about 35, and it's split male to female, 48, 50, 52, and that's about the same. And so we also see a lot of the biggest celebrities. We've seen them internationally, and a lot of people go, yeah, what about the Kiwis that we might know? What are the ones that kind of get engaged in stuff? And I say, this is the new world order. This is what we see. This is what we should all embrace. Back to, if you're making games and thinking about it, we're now looking at what action sports once was. This blend of many different things. It's culture, it's fashion, it's music, and gaming is driving that. This is a new kind of wave driving the cultural revolution. And so at work, we always work with this premise. We work on team. We always say that it's a mix of the traditional kind of celebrity, the esports core and celebrity, the athletes and musicians. And we see that a lot. I mean, the internet got broken when we saw Juju Schuster, obviously we saw Drake, and we saw Ninja all jump in and play a game of Fortnite, most watched content on planet. And really what they're doing is this. It's this crossover of bringing my audience and pushing them all together. So we always look at it this way. We don't see esports in its own bubble in gaming. We definitely see it as a cultural kind of aspect. And this is the people that we've dealt with over the years. And it's not a brag reel so much. It just shows the reach of really, when you think about traditional, some of those people you might recognize. If you're looking about traditional people like David Seymour, it's my favorite ever traditional. He came on a stream with us, which was for the Heart Foundation, he's the ambassador. Awesome. And they're truly consumers, because the average age, as we know, for an esport participant is 18 to 34. And of course, most people fit in that when you think about those. But of course, now it's more 10 to 40 and growing all the time. And so we see these people, they do this as a pastime. That's absolutely, tell stories forever about that. But the same as the athletes, they want to get engaged. The esports and gaming, put a bigger one there for Laurie Pops, because I know she's here somewhere floating around, so just in case you turn up. But Laurie's obviously there right through to music. And so again, all these people game in some shape or form. So great story, because everyone likes the story. So King, for example, he has a gaming parlor that he's hired in Albany, and he has, for him and his whānau, he's got his kid, his dad games with him, and his brother, and they've got a full gaming rig set up, and they just play games, like play Call of Duty quite a lot. They've got a gaming team. I had the 660 boys, they play PlayStation 5 before every concert. So the whole way through they're up back playing FIFA before they go in there. So this isn't like, so just to kind of pull away the veil, these are just people like you and I that just love consuming games like all of us. And so it's very easy for them to get engaged. So again, back to my point, it's a great way because they love it to engage, to get reach, to get that maybe their audience and bring it across. So that's a great snapshot. And I'll give you the one. This is my one great story. Again, I'm not going to mention names, I'm in trouble because it's filmed. Is we had a couple of All Blacks come up to, they were playing respectively for their super clubs, and my studio is private. They were playing games. I went to my office and then got a phone call at 5 o'clock at night on a Friday night and said, have you seen such and such? So I ran down the studio, and none of my team really have any idea who these people are. Oh, and they're like, oh, he's the big dude. The big dude's still left in there, and this is 5 o'clock. So I go down there, you got to get on the bus. That person went on to score 3 tries and became an All Black for the first time about 2 weeks later. So I always say that's because he was, playing Fortnite. That is very, very true. But again, plenty of stories like that, and you can sort of see the crossover. And the last couple, just some examples, we'll take some questions, is really about, you can sort of see how we engage, because the examples are kind of how do you kind of bring it all together, how do you mash up the worlds, back to my team analogy, if they're so into it. David Seymour with Ray up the top there for a charity stream. Raise money for charity for the Heart Foundation, just a cool way to kind of engage with people like you and I. The All Blacks come on, great. We love this example because we got one of Eloise Blackwell, one of the Black Ferns, playing with 2 All Blacks, streaming. This is the bit around game which I love. You will not see that when you think about the traditional realms of what it might be. So again, it's about the crossover. And yes, they did get the dub. They actually got one, so they're very, very good. So they actually took one away. And then we work with the NRL, and you kind of can see in the background we did a huge scaffold outside of ANZ Stadium for the Rugby League Grand Final. 80,000 people coming through. We had the top 10 influencers in Australasia there. We had some fans come, and then we had the NRL stars themselves. And so it's a nice blend. And what always captivates me about the League Royale being there is, at the time of the final, 10,000 fans started coming. Benji's at the front. Benji Marshall is a huge rugby league, star. And everyone in there could understand on the big screen because they've played Fortnite. They understood. They kind of knew that they could beat him. You could hear the people, oh, I could beat him. They're cheering him on just to try to get a takedown. And so again, it blurs those worlds, because we understand. We know who Benji is. He's famous in League because we're there watching it. But how cool is it to see him play Fortnite? And the kids understood it right through. So again, that's just some examples, and then 2 more as we take 5 minutes of Q&A. V Energy Game Changer, 3 teams, Rock, Mai, George. You can sort of see each had a sports star, influencer, and a musician that aligned. And then we had the Drax Project from down here in Welly, just jumping in and playing games. A good way to mash it all up, show a different side to them, get fans engaged digitally. And then the final slide is again, Laurie's down here, but a great way. This is a streaming squad, letting them play in their world. And so again, this is a bit more core, seeing King, Zeno J, Jimmy Jackson, and Laurie, but each of them respectively got put together so they could play in their respective realms. So Laurie, 90,000 plus on Twitch, Jimmy Jackson over 1 million on YouTube, Kings over 1 million on TikTok, and Zeno J sort of their captain, a bit more of a mainstream kind of media personality. And we let them play within their own realms and bring them back together. So when Kings is at a concert, Laurie might turn up, and then she can talk to her audience. So there's just some examples of kind of the blending of sports and culture, and hopefully you take away from it the team aspect, the kind of blending of the way that the world we see. And of course, thank you for coming and having a listen. Are there any questions with 5 minutes to go? Yes.
So post-COVID, a lot of the workplace has changed. So we're moving to like a gig economy, and a lot of people making money, like content creating at home. Also things like Patreon, Gumroad, where people like with everyday skills can make money. And I'm wondering if you've seen a trend, because you talk a lot about sort of like at the tip top how there is this trend of increased viewership, but is there also a trend where there are inroads for everyday people to make a little bit of money, like participating in esports or
And content, yeah. So the question really is about that middle ground or lower ground coming up, I think we're talking about. And you've got two paths. So esports, yes, there's now some ways you can make some, I guess, pocket money because there's more pathways, so that's a good thing. And of course, it's a recognised sport, so we see a lot more of high schools, talk about Olympic program, that'll grow the opportunities, and that's good. Like sport, there's going to be money moving through there. But I think from the streaming aspect, yes, absolutely. I think a lot of people realise that, and I always say this point, if you think about social media, I'm not a fan, I don't have any social media, by the way. I have LinkedIn, but that's all you can find. I have no social media, so I speak to this truthfully, is I don't really see the value in it, right? And so, and I know a lot of people do, but if you've got 1 million followers, you're really going externally to find the value, i.e. I get a brand for me to wear this jacket today, and then that's how I get my money. In the universe of content, I'm sort of digressing, I think the points there is, yes, we see growth, but actually a lot of people, whether it's just juniors coming through right through to the elite level, they can make money in those platforms. And so they don't have to leave. So if you think about that, if I'm popular, think about Brox, who was on Twitch, right? He's just wood carving. Choice story, that dude's like, I don't want your money, people keep giving you money. But he was just wood carving, doing what he's doing. And so you see, I think that's to me, it's always been like busking. That's what Twitch is great. You don't have to leave to get it. And if people like you, they're going to support you. And that's a natural culture. So we see a lot of that. And of course, the thing we really need to address though, and I speak a lot about this, is about the education. Like every kid to that point wants to know how to do it, but they don't know how to do it. So they're learning how to be sort of like selfies, Instagram. That's no good. Personally to me, and I have a couple of kids, we should teach them how to properly set up streams, how to really commercialize those opportunities right through to just, exclamation mark commercial, and get some money out of Twitch doing it that way. So there's a bit of work to be done, but to your point, yes, it's all elevating a lot of people, both traditionally and the youth are coming through. Any other questions? Yes.
What happened to Cybergamer?
We purchased it.
I thought that happened. I tried visiting there a few weeks ago and noticed that it rerouted to Let's Play Live.
Yes. So Cybergamer, just so everyone knows, there's a question really about a platform where you can play games, and then we acquired them to continue that journey, which is to your point about allowing people digitally to jump on to play video games. And it was a 10-year-old platform, so had a lot of fans, like yourself, no doubt. But come to Let's Play Live, we'll give you a good service. I'll go this way, yeah, and then come in, yeah.
So a lot of the high-profile tournaments that people like TI are hosting in North America or Europe or Asia, and you mentioned that New Zealand has really great internet, but we're not really hosting any big high-profile events. Do you think there's value in chasing those events as in making them come to New Zealand?
100%. So really, that's just not lip service. Of course, everyone would love to see it, and to be honest with you, we've had a lot of those conversations. I'm lucky enough to be kind of privy. I think there's a time for it. I think we're getting close. What we have to do is there's a government support mechanism that's needed. I mean, I don't think they quite realise that you're really talking about hosting the Commonwealth Games or something similar. That ilk, like you're not talking. When you think about TI, you think about World. You're shutting down cities. Like maybe potentially multiple cities. So the support is there now for video games, and we are working closely with Auckland Council and Tourism New Zealand. And of course you got Gabe here, and I know I don't know what he wants to do, but keep tapping him, like 2TI down here. So I think it's more that, it's the wraparound services, not so much the services of what we could do as a gaming country. It's about what we could do as a supportive country to allow them all in. And at the moment, we're struggling to let people in on visas, right? So the answer will be yes. Mark my word, I believe it will have a big event.
And I'm wondering if you think that there needs to be what to do about that, because I guess the first part of the question is is there a hidden viewership to these things because the production value is taking a hit, or is there plans to send all these people that are hosts like a nice production setup so that they all look the same?
Well, no, it's a great question. So, sorry to bring in LPL, in that regard. So we broadcast 7 nights a week right through to television, and that's the problem we had. We're able to open up talent in a studio in Sydney and put them together in a studio in our studio in Auckland, and that just looks better, because we're all sitting around the desk and it's shiny lights, and it's just TV quality production, which is where we have to be, right? Because TV, if you think about ESPN or Channel 7, their expectation of our content has to look like Fox Sport to a level, right? And to your point, but we want to keep going, and we can, great, because all the players can play remotely, so that's a win on that side of COVID. The downside is the production value. So what we've played around with is we've set them set backdrops, so we all, not me, but all the hosts look the same behind. And what's interesting is, as a fan, they don't like that. We gave them like uniforms that look alike. Like, you know, so they could have some polos that looked a bit more dressy. No one really liked that. What they wanted was actually to see a little bit more of their own personality. And I think that meets the gaming kind of bit. You know, want to colour your hair purple, you know, whatever, man, go hard. And so they actually prefer that for us to take it away. We've got a lot of commentary saying don't uniform them, don't make it look like that, because if you're not going to put them in the studio, then let's just see your bedroom. You know, they don't want to see it messy, but they're happy to see all their trinkets and they want to see their colourful lights. So actually, it's quite interesting because we went through that journey and tried to answer the question you just asked me. Yeah, and that's the outcome. All right, Tim, we're going to wrap it up there, so we end it. Thank you again. I am around for a little bit longer if anyone wants to have a chat. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of the conference, and thank you for turning up. Appreciate it.